Welcome back to another episode of Why Are We So Different? This is part of our ongoing Family Matters series here, and I'm Pastor Andy. Thanks for joining us. And so again, we're talking about personality differences because personality differences are so big in our life. They affect everything, especially relationships. And so many times when we feel different or we see people who are different than us, we can tend to react, especially if we don't understand. And my hope and goal here is that by breaking some of this down and looking at some of the different personality types and aspects, that we can better understand one another and learn better how to relate to one another. And rather than maybe distancing ourselves from each other and thinking like, why are you so weird? Why are you different than me? That maybe we can actually embrace each other's differences, see the good in the differences, and then become better people for it. And that to working together, we can do better and do more. All right. So we're talking about the different personality types. Last time we talked about the analyst, who is more task-oriented and a little slower processor. Again, not slow in thinking, not any kind of difference in intellect or anything like that. Just the way they process is different. And now we'll come down here to this corner where we're moving from task orientation to people orientation. All right, so we're going to call this person a supporter. Okay, supporters are great. Everybody needs a supporter in their life. And of course, the name sounds wonderful, right? Where everybody loves a supporter. Why? Because they support everybody else. These are people pleasing. And I don't mean like doing people pleasing as in like fear of man versus fear of God. I mean, these are people-oriented people and who care about, what's going on with people. And so they are still, slower processing because they want to make sure, but their reason is different, okay? The analyst, he wants to go slower because he wants to make sure the facts are right. He wants to make sure that nothing goes wrong, right? The supporter wants things slower because he's afraid or she's afraid that somebody's going to get left behind or somebody's going to get their toes stepped on in the process. Like, are we okay? Is everybody okay here? Like, if you're in a family gathering, the supporter is going to be the person who's watching the room to make sure that nobody's getting their feelings hurt. If Uncle Larry, is a bit of a bully and just says what he thinks, and you have sensitive, Louise, who is, sitting there, and Uncle Larry says something about, something that's important to Louise, then the supporter in the room is going to be like, hey, Larry, come on, take it easy. And she's going to likely stick up for Louise because Louise is more sensitive and Larry is being a bit of a blowhard, right? And so supporters, we love supporters because they love us. And these are the people who will get more easily and quickly give up their agenda for themselves in favor of somebody else. These are the people who, work tirelessly so that other people can be supported, can be lifted up. These supporters make great personal assistants. Supporters make great nurses because they're supporting other people in their health, right? And so again, they're looking out for the needs of others. They also tend to be more logical thinking because they are the slower processing, and so they want to make sure that they're logical. They do like systematic routines, and so if we look over here at change, a supporter is going to be somebody who doesn't like change so much. Again, not because they don't like something, a little exciting, but because they want to make sure that everybody's okay. They are typically more risk averse, although it depends on who they're paired with and what else is going on. If their favorite person in their life is a bit of a risk taker, then the supporter is going to want to support the risk taker in their life. And so, again, we all love a supporter because a supporter, their first inclination is to, think about the other person. These people find it more easy to be Christ-like in their nature, and that doesn't mean that they don't have their sins and their problems, but they just tend to be more naturally deferring, like, to put away what they think is important. And, if you're a couple and you're going out and your spouse asks you, where do you want to eat? And you say, well, let's go to Outback. But then they say, well, I don't really want Outback tonight. And then the supporter would say, well, that's fine. Let's go. Where do you want to go? And maybe you want to go to Applebee's or something like that, right? So a supporter is going to be one who defers in that. A supporter is going to be somebody who approaches problem solving on the slower side. Like, let's make sure that we're doing this. Like, is everybody going to be okay? And they're going to be the ones who are thinking about not just the task or the information, but again, how are the people going to be affected by whatever this problem is that we have, right? So their whole orientation is toward people. And of course, as we move up in the graph, which we'll talk about later, they might also be a little more task oriented. The managed information, they're going to be a little more neutral, maybe a little bit more realistic. Again, thinking about the impact to other people. Change, also, it's about, how does it impact people? Risk, we talked about that. All right. So a supporter is somebody who loves people, who comes into our life and who's in our life. They're the backup support. They're the ones that always do the cleanup at the company picnic or the family picnic, and the ones who are always calling on on other people, saying, how you doing? And we wouldn't do well without supporters in our lives who are looking out for us and are the ones who have the gift of helps and who want to help people like naturally and easily because they're not so caught up in themselves. And so supporters are a real gift to us. And so if you've got a supporter in your life, give them a big hug or a kiss if that's appropriate. Thank God for them and tell them thank you because chances are they've made your life better. They make it easier. And they're a blessing to you and everybody else in your life. And that's not to say that some of these other personalities aren't. It's just that supporters, that's just their general nature. All right. Thanks for being with me. If you like these videos and you want to click here and watch some older videos, or you can click down here and subscribe. We'd love that. And with that, we'll see you next time.